Hi everyone, my name is Callie and welcome to my place and my plot. Today's project is a bit of my place. I have a need for additional seating on my backyard deck. I have a couch with a chaise and a coffee table, and what I want are some chairs on the opposite side to form more of a talking arrangement. And right now, honestly, it's like fold-up chairs. They're not super comfortable. Well, I missed out on a deal at Facebook Marketplace. So instead, I went to a local charity place called Savers, and I found these. So these are obviously not outdoor chairs, obviously. But I couldn't beat the deal, $6.99. I got two. And they even come on rollers. How convenient, which means I can roll them out of the way when I don't need them, roll them in when I do. The goal here is to try and weatherproof these enough that they can stay outside. I have a couple of plans. Now this is wood. I'm thinking sand it, or maybe just prime it, paint, and then a polyurethane over top to give it the most protection I can. And realistically, it cost me $7 this chair. $7? $7. So far, we're up to 14 bucks. If these don't last forever, what does it matter? You know, if I get a couple of good years of use out of them, that's good enough. And they have sort of that squarish shape, which is a lot of what I have now. And the goal of priming, painting, and polyurethaning is just to give the most protection I can. The wheels, I think, are plastic. That might be a metal cover piece. It might also be plastic, so those should be fine. The fabric and the stuffing underneath is obviously the main concern. So the first goal is to get these off so that I can deal with the wood. My plan for these is to take off this fabric. I mean, it doesn't work for what I'm doing anyway, and that should leave me with the cushions. And I think what I'm going to do is attempt to wrap the cushions, not fully, in an old shower curtain. So that gives my waterproof layer. I mean, it's just plastic. Wrap it, and I'm thinking leave it open down here on the bottom and open on the underside of the chair so that should the cushions get wet, there is still access to airflow for either the water to drain out or for them to dry out so they don't get moldy and disgusting inside. But again, same plan. If the cushions give out in 2 years, it still only cost me $7 to get this far. So I did also pick up some curtain fabric from Savers. This was only $3. So far you are looking at $10 to change these out. This is close to the color of my house. I don't know, it's right here, let's see. Yeah, it has some of the color of my house, so that could work. That this would go over top of the shower curtain. So we shall just kind of see how it goes. Hopefully this video has a good ending. First step, got to get these cushions off. And that's what's coming next. The screws holding on the back cushion were in holes that actually had wood plugs in them. So I drilled out the wood plugs, was able to access the screws so that I could remove them and remove the back cushion. These chairs were old enough, there was quite a bit of grime. I used a degreaser soap by spraying them, let it sit for a little bit, and then I scrubbed it with a blue scrub pad, as you can see. Sprayed it one more time and then wiped off all the debris. In some cases, this actually took the wood down to bare wood. One chair had a loose arm, which I fixed by lifting it up and applying wood glue and wiping off the excess. With the cleaning done, the first coat of paint was an exterior primer that I already had on hand. With the primer dry, I spray painted color onto the chairs with spray paint I already had. This first color is brown. I was pretty sure I would need at least 2 cans to coat everything. So I made the first coat a color near black, and I left my black spray paint for the final coat. Now you may notice one of the chair cushions is already out here. I let this paint dry for 2 full days before I top coated with a polyurethane. The hardest part of all this painting has been moving these chairs around and trying not to have wet parts touch the drop cloth. So I finally decided to go ahead and put the rollers, the wheels, back on the cart, and I went back to painting a second coat of polyurethane on here. Wanted to make sure that it was pretty well protected. And you may see as you go through here that I missed a couple of sides, so it was really important to get a second coat on so that all the areas of the chair were fully protected. Took me about 40 minutes to remove all the staples from the bottom cushion to get the fabric off. There must have been about 100 of those. The tools I used were a painter's tool or a screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver to lift the staples, and then the most handy tool was a curved needle nose pliers, which I could use to twist the staple off. I laid out the fabric with the plastic sheet on top, pulled it up along one side and stapled it. But I'm not that great at the stapler, I had to pound the staples in. I trimmed it a little bit more to size, pulled up the other side, pulling taut as I went, and stapled that. I repeated for the other sides. Then the only trick was the corners. And honestly, when it comes to corners, pull it, yank it, fold it, make it lie flat as much as you can, and staple it down with as many staples as you need. Which explains why there were 100 staples holding the fabric onto this cushion to begin with. So I wanted to just talk through this part. I've gotten the cushion off, and it is basically a big pocket. It's made of 2 pieces. One is a square for the back. One is a larger rectangle that's pinched in the corners to form the rest of the pocket. I've used that as my template, and I have the piece for the back and the larger piece that is going to be the template. Form the pocket in the back when you pinch the corners. So here's what I'm thinking. I am going to draw a line about a 1/2 inch in, which would be my seam allowance. I am planning on leaving the bottom open so that any moisture that does get into the cushiony part can breathe and come out. But I'm thinking I might use this industrial glue. So if I mark my 1/2 inch seam, all I have to do is put the glue on that seam, line it up, and away I go. I do not know how E6000 works with plastics, and the corners are going to be trickier. But that's what I'm going for, and we shall see how it turns out. The E6000 actually worked beautifully. I did the two sides and then I did just the top, matching it to the folded part. Once that dried, I went back in and just created the crease, again just using the E6000, and I trimmed off the excess with the scissors. Then I was able to actually fit it over the cushion, and it worked. First thing you might notice here is that this is not the curtain fabric I showed you at the beginning of the video. Turns out I had this nice neutral fabric in my stash and I decided to use that. What I'm doing here is, instead of cutting two pieces and sewing it all together, I decided to simply lay the back cushion down, stretch the fabric over it, and then pin exactly where I wanted a seam to be. Out, you can see here that this is the line that I will sew up. I will just follow where I pinned. The top was harder. I basically pulled it down from the top and created a flat spot and then pinned two V shapes, well, a V shape, into the fabric that I would sew. Remember this? Yeah, we're going to do that in a second. Okay, so I wanted to show you how the sewing turned out. So I pinned both sides, sewed it straight up, and then you can see there's a point at which I stopped right there. And then I created an even fold with what was left, and I picked the angle I thought I had from the pins. So then I sewed here and I sewed here. Yeah, I did some overlapping, but I figured that's going to be the toughest point. And see, I did the same thing on the other side. Okay, so here is the lovely thing. And I thought for sure that this was the upper part, but I finally went out and looked. There are two holes here that attach the back. This is the upper end of the back. I'm interrupting myself here because I was wrong. The rounded part is the top. So just ignore the orientation of the cushion from here on out, but everything else worked. All of the seamless plastic has to go over that way. So here is my lovely piece of plastic. Remember, I put this together with E6000 glue. And turn this thing right side out. And the larger piece there's a small square piece. This is the back, and then a larger piece that is the front. So I'm going to do it this way. All right, so got that down. I mean, there's some excess up here at the tippy top, but we're just going to leave it. There is one thing I need to do. I don't want to seal this bottom. What I want here is to actually have open so that it's only this poly and the fabric, so that should the center ever actually get wet, it can dry out. So I'm just shortening this so it doesn't go the whole way. Almost, hang on, there, got it. Okay. All right, time to get the pillow on, or to cover. Here's the cover. I'm going to turn right side out. And you can see what this V shape winds up doing. It creates a thickness that I can put on the edge of the pillow. See, there's my finger and the 2 points. All right, let's see how well this one fits. So there it is. I mean, I know it's not tight yet, but they're fitted into the corners. And now the goal is, what I'm going to be doing is pulling the front over first so that I can get it a little bit more tight to the inside curve. So I'm going to pull that and staple it, and then I'm going to take this and fold it over so that I can have a non-ratting, tearing, fraying, non-fraying edge. And that's what we're going to do next. I'm going to move the camera so that you can see me doing this stapling. The trickiest part of this is knowing where the wood is and where my staple gun is going to shoot its staple. My staple gun has been sticking, so I just want to make sure it's ready to fire here. So I can get the first one in. Ugh. This is harder to do when you're not working on a flat surface, I will say. Okay. So I can feel the edge of the wood is right there. And apparently, all I ever had to do was tilt. I've been trying to staple with it flat, and all you got to do is tilt this up. And that staple pulled right out. So we're going to try again. Maybe I will staple it from the other direction. Ah, that one stuck. I do have my hammer just to be sure. Trying to do here is tuck this edge in, maybe even overly much, fold that end down, flip this thing over. Okay, so this is really thick. I'm gonna try and get a few staples in there right away. There we go. All right, that's that side. Okay, I think we did it. So there it is, all wrapped up and ready to be installed. The last thing I've done is to try and find the holes. Ah, here it is. There it is. There it is. Just so I can have a better shot of finding them when I'm actually trying to screw in the screws. It's hot and sticky out here, but it is time for the moment of truth. Trying to put all of this back together. Okay. Oh, it didn't even scratch that much being upside down. Okay. So now the fun part is we're up to the back. And I just have this feeling this is going to be harder. And I did do this backwards. Oh! I had to take out the staples, take everything off the cushion, flip the cushion, and then redo it all. Lining up the back cushion with the holes that were pre-existing in the back cushion was so much harder than I wanted it to be. In the end, you can see I sort of laid the back cushion down to get the bottom hole lined up, and then used the clamp to hold everything tight so I could get it to securely fit when I drilled it all together. Looks like it's in. Shall we try it? Oh, sitting, leaning. I think we did it. So thanks so much for watching my place and my plot. There's another party tomorrow, and these are done for tomorrow's party. I will show you some pictures as we say goodbye. Thanks for watching.